It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by AgileDad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. All right, I might have to ask for apologies in advance for this one because this is going to be a little bit longer, I can tell you now. But it's from one of my favorite authors, Kim Scott. She published something that I just thought was outstanding, so I wanted to make sure that we talked about it. The title of her discussion was Feedback versus Feed Forward. Here's why I don't like either word to describe radical candor. Ooh. All right, so there's been a lot of chatter lately about feedback versus feed forward. Words matter. I don't love the word feedback because it's commonly used to show people what to do more of and what to do less of. I use it often. Does bad feedback mean criticism, or does it mean criticism that is badly delivered? Does good feedback mean praise, or praise that is well delivered, or criticism that is well delivered? Who on earth knows? Because it's unknowable, sloppy language. Okay, let's pause for a second there. She's getting into the woods, into the real deep thought behind what words mean. And for those of you who know me, you know I studied Latin. Words are important to me. I get where she's going with this. Words matter. So she continues. I like the term feed forward even less because it pretends that we don't have to understand past mistakes in order to avoid them in the future. It pretends that we can avoid unnecessary but uncomfortable conversations. Let me reread that. It says it pretends that we can avoid necessary but uncomfortable conversations. If you consider feedback versus feed forward, both of these words are well-intentioned euphemisms. That's my problem with them. They tend toward either ruinous empathy or manipulative insincerity. Wow, this is why I love Kim Scott. She always causes you to really think deep about what's going on and figure out where you are in the sequence of thought. So, what is feed forward? Feed forward is the flow of information or control in a forward or unidirectional manner. It's communication from someone that lets you know what to do more of in the future. While I'm not a fan of the term feed forward, executive coach Marshall Goldsmith prefers what he calls future cross feed forward over backward looking feedback. I have to tell you, that quote right there, I'm going to read it one more time. It says, while I'm not a fan of the term feed forward, executive coach Marshall Goldsmith prefers what he calls future focused feed forward over backward looking feedback. A bunch of articles and TikToks have popped up recently about doing away with the word feedback in favor of what's basically radical candor communication, though different people are calling it different things. On LinkedIn, one person noted feed forward is the windshield through which we look ahead to what is coming, giving us a chance to choose the best path and ponder future decisions. One can argue that if you don't also use the rear view mirror, you won't have all the information you need to decide if it's better to change lanes or stay the course. Mistakes are how we learn. We can't erase mistakes. But if we don't acknowledge mistakes and seek to understand why they happened, it's almost impossible not to repeat them. What's more, to know what to do more of in the future, you need to know what the thing you did in the past was and why it was so good or was not so good. There can be no feed forward without feedback. Here we go. So then what is feedback? That's going to bring us down the next row, right? So feedback is both praise and criticism. I don't like the word feedback because it sounds screechy and makes most people want to put their hands over their ears, as it's been hijacked to refer to receiving mostly negative information. It's one of those things where you have to look at it as good news or bad news, right? Instead of feedback. It causes people to fall down semantic rat holes like feedback versus feed forward. But for the sake of the argument and its relevance as a term commonly used in the workplace, feedback refers to the process of giving and receiving information about performance, behaviors, or contributions. Kim Scott, you are amazing. That's all I gotta say. This is so perfect and so relevant right now. It plays a crucial role in professional development, performance improvement, and organizational growth. Effective feedback helps people understand their strengths and weaknesses, align their efforts with organizational goals, and make necessary adjustments to enhance their performance and contribution to the company. All right. So if you think about feedback at work, here's some things you should consider, some aspects, right? So the first one she lists off is praise. Specific and sincere praise acknowledges and reinforces desirable behaviors, achievements, and contributions. It can boost employee morale, motivation, and job satisfaction. Recognizing and praising employees for their successes is a key aspect of positive reinforcement. It can also be used for criticism, kind and clear criticism often refers or offers the recipient actionable suggestions for improvement. It focuses on behaviors, skills, or tasks that can be enhanced and offers guidance on how to make the improvements. Criticism is essential for employee growth and development. Without it, you're unable to avoid repeating mistakes. Then there's upward feedback. Effective feedback is not a one way street. Employees should also have the opportunity to provide feedback to their leadership, managers, and to the organization. You need to be able to do it in both directions. Neither feedback nor feed forward distinguishes between development conversations and performance management, which doesn't make the whole feedback versus feed forward debate very useful at all. Development conversations hook into a person's intrinsic desire to do better in the future than they did in the past. Performance reviews and conversations, when they're going well, should include no surprises since there have been many daily and weekly developmental conversations. But they seek to make the process of deciding bonuses, promotions, etc. clear to employees. They hook into the extrinsic desire for more money and authority and the ability not to be fired. We need both development conversations and performance management systems, and we need to learn how we can do better at both of them. Too often we bungle it, but that doesn't mean we have to do away with it or should do away with it. That would be like saying too many people struggle with math, so math is bad, let's eliminate it. Instead, we need to learn how to teach it better. So I'm sure you've all heard of 360 degree feedback, performance reviews. I think the key here is no matter what system you use, you need to include regular feedback. Feedback is most effective when it's provided informally on an ongoing basis rather than being limited to an annual review or a semi-annual review, regular check-ins, one-on-one meetings, open communication channels, let's go for a walk. All those things apply, right? And then based on the feedback, we need to be able to put together a clear development plan that's actionable, that has specific actions, training, or skill building activities that help address areas that need improvement and things that support professional growth and career advancement for the people that are using it. In her book, Radical Candor, she uses the term guidance to refer to development conversations. And guidance is defined as soliciting and giving both praise and criticism, then gauging how what was said landed and adjusting or pivoting. While the word feedback may make you want to put your hands over your ears, guidance is something most of us long for. Guidance means caring about what's best for the individual long term, not just what feels easiest right now. It also means leaving no room for interpretation about what you really think, while also being open to the possibility that your opinion is wrong. So they go through and list off a bunch of definitions here, at least Kim does, and I love it. And I'm going to share these with you because I think it's too important to just gloss over. So I'm going to go through the list of definitions here. So the first one she talks about is you need to be humble. It's important to offer guidance with a sense of humility, knowing that your point of view is an important piece of a much larger puzzle. Speak from your point of view, but leave space for them to speak as well. It should be helpful. Consider the goal of the conversation. Are you having it to win, or are you having a conversation to help? Make sure your goal is to help the other person succeed, not always to come out on top. Immediate. Give guidance immediately or as close to immediately as possible. If you can give communication right away, do so, but don't put someone in an embarrassing position. Make sure you can do it as soon as you can. In person or on video, having a synchronous conversation leaves much less room for error as it allows you to gauge how your guidance is landing from one person to the other. In private, the part of your brain that interprets physical threats is the same part that activates when you feel a threat to your identity or ego. If you criticize someone in public, chances are they'll go into the fight, flight, freeze mode and be unable to take in what you're saying and will shut down. It's not about personality. Make sure to focus on the behavior, not the person who executed the behavior. Um, good guidance should also follow what she calls the core model. Now, this one I love. So, the core model is a way to show people what to do more of and what to do less of. And it's a simple way to ensure you're focusing on behavior versus personality. So, here we go. So, the C in core stands for context. Cite the specific situation, the context of what's going on. Observation. Describe what was said or done. Result. What is the most meaningful consequence to you and to them? And the E is, I don't know how she got the E here, but next steps. What do you expect the next steps? I guess she took the E from next and the E from step. I don't know. But anyway, next steps is the E. So if you think about it from this perspective, when you solicit criticism or get unsolicited criticism, it's useful to assume good intent because people are inherently good, and look for a useful nugget, even if the feedback wasn't well delivered. You don't have to agree with all of it. You need to find the nugget that you need. When you give praise or criticism, it's crucial to gauge how it landed. If the person seems sad or mad, show that you care. If the person seems to be ignoring you, say it again, but more clearly. Challenge even more directly. Figure out why they're not getting what you're saying. And in all cases, whether we call it feedback, feedforward, guidance, criticism, etc., it should always end with a focus on the future, on the next steps the person can take to do more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff that's driving you crazy. Even if you don't know what the next step is, make sure you let them know that you're there with them as a thought partner throughout the journey as they figure it out. Kim Scott, you have earned my undying applause. Incredible. Every single thing Kim writes to me has just been over the top good. I haven't found anything yet, and I'm knocking on wood here. I haven't found anything yet that I disagreed with. She's an incredible author. If you don't have a copy of her book, Radical Candor, you need to go right now to Amazon and get yourself a copy because she is awesome possum. All right, that's going to do it. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you have a question or comment, feel free to reach out to us. Learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.